Welcome back to Fit Body Secrets, where my mission is to bring you guys inspiration, motivation, and a ton of tips to help y'all on your fitness and your fat loss journey. And I'm going to go ahead and get myself live on Instagram. 3, 2, 1. Boom. I'm live on Instagram. Let me just make sure it syncs up. And I am going to get started. Hope you guys are all having a good Tuesday. See if I'm live. Good morning. How's everybody doing today? Happy Tuesday. Happy tax day. Ooh, guess who's filing an extension on her taxes? One of these years I'll get it done on time. Just never seems to work out that way, but it's all good. So happy Tuesday, guys. I'm excited to talk about today's topic. I had quite a few thoughts rattling through my head today because the beauty of working with so many different clients is they bring up pretty much everything that all of you guys might deal with at some point in your journey. And there's always a topic. There's always something I can talk about. And today, what I really had on my heart to talk about, good morning. Hey, Dad. What's up, Dad? I'm super proud of my dad right now. Guys, my dad quit smoking, and I'm putting it out there now, so he has to commit to it. And I know for a lot of my clients out there, y'all know how hard a habit like that is to break. So I'm super, super proud of my dad for that. So next is going to be getting him working out, but I'm going to have to keep the intensity a little bit lower than what we do in CrossFit. But good morning, guys. I'm going to talk today about kind of that process of man, I'm doing all of the things and things aren't changing. Like I'm going to the gym, I'm hitting the workouts, I'm tracking the macros, and my body's not changing. I'm not feeling any better. I'm not seeing any changes. The scale's not changing. What am I doing wrong? And I want this to be really something that resonates with you guys so you guys can learn how to just pivot a little bit on the things you might be focusing on in your journey to be able to see the results that you're looking for, whatever those results might be, whether you are looking to lose body fat, whether it's 5 or 10 pounds, maybe it's 20 or 50 pounds, and really giving you guys an understanding of why looking at whatever goals you have are going to require a change in who you are as a person is such a fundamental mindset shift that everybody's going to have to make in order to be successful, because you can't stay stuck where you are as the same person and expect to get a different result. In fact, I just talked about my dad quitting smoking. And one of the biggest things I told him is from now on, you no longer identify yourself as anybody who is trying to quit smoking. You are a non-smoker. So with you guys out there, you're not somebody that's trying to lose weight. That's not you. You are somebody that lives a healthy and fit lifestyle. Your body reflects what you do in the gym and how you feed yourself in the kitchen. And when you shift your beliefs to thinking about who you want to become on a daily basis, that will change your results. I promise you. I've walked the walk. I know that. I grew up eating a standard American diet. I grew up eating chicken fingers and French fries whenever I went out. I didn't give a shit about calories. I didn't care about a vegetable. I didn't think about protein. And when I shifted to focus on those things, now I know how much better I feel in my life. And I've also been able to obviously build in flexibility with that and still enjoy living my life. It's not restricting myself all the time. It's knowing that discipline on a daily basis with eating the right things, enjoying those things makes my life a lot easier in the long run. So if you are somebody who is doing the work, I'm doing the things, I want to talk to you guys about a couple of different things that might be going on that are making it hard for you guys to see the progress that you're looking for. And as always, if I'm talking and you guys get questions or you have a comment, please put it up in the chat. Hopefully you stay on long enough. As I get finished up here, I will look back at those questions or comments. Okay. So doing the work doesn't necessarily guarantee results. And here's the main reason why. You could be working really, really, really hard, but not doing the really hard work on the really hard things that you need to change. Okay. I see this as the biggest roadblock. One of the things I hear all the time is my hormones are why I cannot lose weight. If you are dealing with hormonal weight loss resistance, your hormones are not the problem. You have created an issue in your body, and now hormones are being impacted, or age has done what Mother Nature wants it to do, and now you're dealing with that time of life, and there are things you need to be focusing on in order to get weight loss to happen. It is not a death sentence to have a hormonal problem and not be able to see results. You have to know what you have to be focusing on. Focusing on the thing that you can't control is not going to get you anywhere, okay? So not doing the right work. Maybe you're thinking, I'm in a place where my hormones are the problem, but are you doing the right work on the right things to fix it? People go down rabbit holes of supplements and telling you that you shouldn't be eating carbs and you're insulin resistant. And you start blaming all of these things without actually knowing, okay, like, let's get back to basics on things, okay? Not doing the right work also looks like misaligned actions and expectations. This is a really common one with people who are like, I want a body recomp. I want to lose fat, but I also want to build muscle. And they're not putting an emphasis or a focus on one of those two things for a period of time. You have to know, do you need to lose fat to get yourself to look leaner? Or do you need to build more muscle to get yourself to look leaner? You have to know what end of the spectrum you're on and be able to go on a focused journey at those actions, okay? Focusing on the minute details is another problem, like focusing on the little things that don't really matter that much rather than focusing on the big marbles that matter. So one of my clients who might still be watching here right now is like, oh, I just have to stop snacking. Why do you have to stop snacking, right? Why do you have to stop snacking? Maybe you don't have to stop snacking. Are you controlling your calorie intake for the day? Are you staying within your calories? Are you getting your protein? That's the detail that matters. Whether you snack or not doesn't matter as much as you making sure you're holding yourself accountable to it, which is another thing when we talk about doing the wrong work, okay? If you're not focusing on the right details, you're not going to get the right changes. So maybe you are eating clean, you're eating super clean, but you're not looking at calories. Hey, that was me. I followed a paleo diet for years. I'm not going to say I didn't feel good because I felt okay. I didn't feel bad, but my relationship with food was fucked. I believed that grains and dairy were going to make me sick and unwell and were making me fat. And then the reality was I was eating entirely too many calories because I was eating a lot of calories from fat. And fat is the most calorie dense macronutrient of them all. I was eating nuts and avocado and eggs and uncured bacon and, you know, all these things, lots of red meat. It's getting way too many calories because I can easily put down some food. Okay. So if you're eating clean, but you're not controlling the calories, you're going to be stuck. So it can be a really hard work to be eating clean. Like you're avoiding all of those things that you enjoy, but you're not focusing on the calories. This is what I mean by you're putting all the work in, but you're not focusing on the calories. Another one is, but Cheryl, I am tracking my calories. I've been in a calorie deficit for 3 or 4 weeks, but maybe you're not using a food scale. Hey, that's a detail that freaking matters. And it's also hard for some people to get used to that consistent habit of actually using a food scale. It's one extra step. And a lot of you guys like, I'm already busy. I don't want to have one more thing to do. But that one little thing is the difference between you getting results from tracking your food and not getting results from tracking your food. This is what I mean by you're focusing on the wrong details, okay? Maybe you're not committed when it actually matters. You're somebody that's like, man, I do so good all week, but it's the weekends where I want to be able to be more flexible. Well, when you're doing that hard work all week and you're restricting yourself and you're not feeding your body, it's going to make it a lot harder on the weekends. And the weekends are probably the hard work that matters more for you. If every single weekend, the only way you are finding pleasure in life is through food, that is something that you need to be able to address in order for you to lose weight. I'm not saying you can't go out and have a social meal with your friends, but if that's what you're looking forward to every weekend to give you the dopamine hit, it's going to keep you stuck. It doesn't matter how clean you eat all week, how low your calories are, you're blowing it on the weekends. Okay, you're not focusing on the details that matter at work. You're working hard, but you're not working hard on the right things. This is another big one. You're not looking at the mental aspect of change, which is a very, very, very hard thing to focus on in a fat loss journey, especially if you are somebody who has struggled with your weight for a long time, because you've done a lot of things that don't work and have not been able to stay consistent. You already go into something expecting it to fail. You go into it thinking, this is going to be one more thing I try, and I don't stick out long enough. And that is why I full-heartedly believe that if you are serious about making changes to how you look and you feel and what you weigh on the scale, you have got to take your results seriously enough to be willing to track things that you can change. And that means taking a look at what you're doing and realizing that just trying things and seeing what's going to stick is a failure all the time. It's going to fail you because you're going to continue to be guessing on things. Even if you see some quick wins, you are going to eventually get to a place of like, well, this is one more thing that I plateau at, and I'm going to revert back to old habits again. Okay. You're looking for the exit before you even start. And that's another thing with the mental aspect of change. A lot of people jump into this, I need to change right now before this date. All of a sudden you get a wake-up call. You've got a vacation in 4 weeks or 6 weeks, and you're like, I got to get this weight off quickly. So in your head, you're like, I'm just dieting until that vacation. And then you're going to go back to living your life just the way it was before, carefree, not giving a shit. And you pack on the weight again. And then the freaking hamster wheel starts all over again. It'll just be a matter of time before you jump on a different plan. Okay. Another part of the mental aspect is like looking for a reason for it not to work. Like you're looking for the out, but it's my hormones, but it's this. Guys, when you are focusing on fat loss and you are not seeing results, there is something missing in the puzzle. That's all it is. You might be focusing on one or two details, but you're not focusing on the specific details that matter most for you. And this is why it's so important for you to know all the things that matter for you specifically to be successful. There's a general guidelines, and then there's those things that matter more for you. In fact, I've been talking about metabolic mapping a lot recently because it's something that I do believe in, and I am using now as my method for teaching you guys how to manipulate your energy intake, your energy output to allow you guys to burn body fat, to look better, to feel better, and to actually be able to maintain it long-term based on how you personally need to live your life to feel happy. That's really what it's all about, okay? So when you're focusing on all of the hard things you're doing, it doesn't mean you're not working hard. It just means that there might be some things missing in your journey. Kat, will you please get away, Jack? I don't know why he always has to do this whenever I'm on my computer, and it drives me crazy, okay? So what I want you guys to do right now is I'm going to come up with a quick list right here. And I want you to be able to check off all the things that you're doing or not doing in your head. Or if you want to write it down, that's fine as well. And I don't even have these things written down. These are just the things that I look at whenever I'm doing an assessment. Okay. First and foremost, what does your food quality look like? Where are you getting your main sources of proteins, carbs, fats, and fiber from? How much fruits and vegetables are you eating every single day? Okay. If the answer is 0, and if the answer is, I don't even know what food quality is, guess what? You should probably be starting there. Okay. From there, how many calories are you consuming a day, every single day, over the course of the last 30 days? And how much protein are you getting per day? All right. I'm not talking about what 3 days out of the last 30 days look like. I'm not talking about the 3 perfect days. I'm talking about the average over the course of the last 30 days. Because what you do for a few days out of the week does not matter as much as what you've been doing for the last 30 days. Do you have an accurate food diary? This is where people go wrong when they're focusing on macros. Is they're like, oh, I was going to be over, so I said, fuck it. And I just wasn't on track. It's fine. I'll get back on track tomorrow. Those days matter for you to see why those macros might not be impactful for your fat loss goals. Okay, and I didn't even talk about macros. I said protein and calories. Are you actually using a food scale to track those calories 90% of the time? Because I get it. You're going to have a few meals where you're going out to eat. Let me just get my cat down because he's going to get down. You're going to have those few days where you're going out to eat. I don't want y'all packing your food scale to the scale to bring it to the restaurant, but you got to know that, hey, no, I'm pretty good at portion size because I do it all the time at home. So when I'm eating out, I am choosing the right things, right? So are you eating good? Are you controlling your calories? Are you getting enough protein? Okay. Are you getting some fruits and vegetables every single day? 100 to 200 grams per meal of a veggie, maybe about 100 to 200 grams a couple times a day, some fruits. You're getting some of those micronutrient rich foods in. These are things that you can be checking off the boxes like, yeah, I'm doing that. Yeah, I'm doing that. Okay. How about movement? How much are you moving throughout the day? I'm not talking about the fact that you go to the CrossFit class or you go to the gym 5 days a week for 60 minutes a day. I'm talking about the other, we'll call it, because we're typically asleep for 8 hours, so we'll call it the other 12 hours of your day. Okay? What kind of movement are you getting in throughout the day? Are you sitting all day? Are you standing a lot? Are you moving around a lot? Are you making intentional if you have a very sedentary job, are you being more intentional about getting more movement in? Some of you guys do have to actually work a little harder to get more movement in throughout the day because you are desk bound. Taking a walk on your break rather than scrolling through social media or sitting and chatting it up with your friends might be the best thing for you to do on your break for your health, both physically and mentally. How much are you moving throughout the day? These are the right action steps that you guys should be focusing on. How frequently are you getting to the gym? I'm not talking about the intensity, because I don't care how hard you go for 5 or 10 minutes 3 times a week. I care about, like, are you showing up daily? Are you strength training? Are you getting enough volume in? Are you adapting to that volume in a positive way? That's the stuff that matters. The more consistent you are with your workouts and your movement, the more consistent you are with your food quality and the calories, the more control you have over your body composition changes, over your weight changes, and all of that kinds of stuff. And a couple of last minute things that you are in control of. Somewhat. I was talking to somebody this morning who gets 5 hours of sleep a night right now, right? 5 hours of sleep a night right now because of just having a newborn baby, running a business, and also having another job. And guys, sleep is important. If you are not getting enough sleep and you're trying to lose fat, it does make it more difficult. You can do it, but I'm going to tell you, you're going to have lower energy and you're going to have more cravings. So you have to be more intentional about movement and you have to be more mindful of when calories are going in. Okay. So getting enough sleep is important. Are you recovering enough to allow your body to feel good in your day? These are the details that matter. What you're not going to notice, or what you're going to notice here, is I didn't mention, are you avoiding carbs? Are you following a diet plan? Are you timing your meals right? Are you fasting your cardio? Okay. Those details don't matter as much as these big details do. But guess what? A lot of these details are fucking boring. They're boring. It's the boring work that people don't want to do because they want something new and exciting. But guess what? The boring work is what works. It is what gets the job done. In fact, yesterday, there was a couple that dropped into the gym and they said, "Do you follow proven programming?" And I said, "No." And they're like, "It's just so funny. You're doing almost the exact same thing as I'm doing." And I said, "Oh, well, I don't follow proven." But why do they say that? And why is it probably the truth? That we're probably, because guess what? Most good programs follow the basics. It's the basic shits repeated over and over again. The same boring movements in the gym over and over again. The same progressive overload over and over again. Okay, so it's the same thing with your nutrition. If your nutrition does not feel boring, then you haven't been doing it long enough to see any kind of results. Hands down. It should feel pretty freaking boring. It should feel like it's just one more thing. That's how you know you've made a change that's actually going to create. Now, when I say that, if you're not ever shaking it up and getting to get past these roadblocks, like it's boring when you're doing all these things. If you're not doing all these things and it's boring, that just means you're complacent. That means you're not willing to make changes. And if you really want to see changes, you have to align your actions with your expectations. Now, I'm going to tell you this. If you were able to check off a lot of those boxes, but Cheryl, I've tried all of these things. There's a whole other category of people who are doing the work and not seeing results. And this usually comes down to one big fact. You're just not giving it enough time. You're just not being patient enough. And it's really hard because we compare ourselves to others. And well, aren't you supposed to lose like 1 to 2 pounds a week? Well, that's an average based on a study. that was performed over the course of a year of people in a fat loss journey that had a significant amount of weight to lose. So some weeks they might have lost no weight. Other weeks they might have lost 3. Other weeks they lost 1. But over the course of a year, their average weight loss, when you account 12 months divided by how many pounds they lost, you're going to see that they lost an average of 1 to 2 pounds per week. You can't measure your fat loss over, or statistics off of a 4-week program. You need to give it enough time. You can't expect to see results on the scale every single day or even every single week, especially if you are trying to be flexible. You want to be able to enjoy a few meals here and there that maybe aren't perfectly tracked, or it's just you are over on your calories a little bit. Your body needs time. You need to know when it's time to keep things dialed in, or when it's like, man, I've been dialed in for 4 weeks and it's Easter weekend and I want to be able to go and enjoy a meal with my family, and I'm okay with being a little bit over today. That's consistency that's going to get you results. But if every single weekend you're like, oh, I'm expecting results, but I was good all week, so I should see some results, right? Well, if every single weekend you're not, like, that's not going to happen. But at the end of the day, you need more time, okay? You need to be sticking to the boring work long enough for it to get boring, for it to work. Like, if it's still hard, that means you still need to be working hard at that stuff, okay? And I think the main thing here with this is not being patient enough. It's not even just being patient with the results. It's also being patient with yourself. So, like, what I mean by this is you expect to see fast results without a lot of effort. And for you, maybe tracking your food and using a food scale is already really hard. Like, so that's all you're focusing on right now. Maybe for you, like, you have an appetite and being in a calorie deficit is really hard. So you need to diet on a little bit more calories and maybe need to be a little bit more patient. Maybe for you, like, moving more is really hard in your day because you are very busy and you're sitting a lot. And trying to be more intentional with that is a hard thing in itself. It's like knowing that you have to align your expectations with your effort. And in a perfect world, all of the things are going to get you really quick results. That's why things like 75 hard and all that can be helpful for people to get a jump start. But oftentimes it also burns them out because the effort was so hard that when it's over, they're like, thank God it's over. I just want to be able to breathe. And they can't get themselves back on track. Okay. So sometimes you just need to be patient with yourself and give yourself a little bit more time with the boring shit. My cat's got the zoomies right now. If you don't see him running across my floor, I don't know what he's doing. I think he thinks he's chasing, I don't know, he's chasing something. But anyway, so if you are somebody who is doing the work and you're not seeing results, okay, make sure that you are focusing on the details that are going to create the biggest changes. How much you're eating, the macronutrient breakdown, getting enough protein, focusing on good quality foods. So you're getting enough micronutrients and getting enough fiber. You're getting your daily steps in. I'm not talking about that you have to go for an intentional walk, but are you moving enough throughout your day? You're consistent with your workouts and you're trying to get as much sleep as you possibly can with your current allotment of sleep time. Okay. Those things matter so much. All the other shit that you're focusing on probably doesn't matter that much. Following a diet, following fasting, all that stuff. And you have to be patient with those things for a long period of time. And this is kind of where I want to segue into 2 very important things. One is you have to know, as I mentioned, metabolic mapping, what your body needs more of or less of. So it's not just dropping calories drastically or increasing cardio, because sometimes that might do you dirty. You might end up getting a little bit of a rebound burnout, and then neither of those things are going to feel good. Okay. You have to know what your metabolism responds to better. Some people are going to respond better to moving more, dieting on more calories. Some people are going to respond better to just dropping calories because they're already active enough. Some people are going to need to eat more calories to support their lifestyle so that they can actually fuel their lifestyle and stop binging because they're under eating all the time. There's a multitude of ways that we can manipulate things based on where you're at metabolically to get you changes. So you need to know what you guys need. And if you want me to help you out with some metabolic mapping, just shoot me a message. I'll put the link to it in my show notes. Ooh, I think I forgot to include this on my YouTube show notes. So I'm going to have to bother Scott and see if he can add it on there for me. But I will help you guys figure out how to work this into your own plan. And then the last thing that I want to touch on here, because knowing what your body's needs are important in order for you to see results. Because even if you are tracking your calories and you don't have the right amount of calories, you're not going to see results. And that could be really frustrating. Is that I mentioned this in the beginning, and it's so important. You guys have to be married to the changes that you're making. You're not just trying them out. You're not just dating them. All right. When you are making changes to your training and your nutrition, you're marrying them. The only thing that is temporary is a lot of the tracking. So you won't have to always track your food. That's a means to making sure you're dialing things in to build visual awareness on portion sizes. Eating in a calorie deficit, so you will be eating more, but the foods you're eating, the exercise habits you have, your daily movement needs to stay consistent. There are times where I might have clients significantly increase their steps if they are, those slow oxidizers and I need to get them burning more. But we have to find that still intentional movement daily to maintain. So it's really important that when you guys are focusing on these changes, that whenever you're looking at these diets and you're looking at extremes and you're like, can I commit to this forever? Because that was my biggest problem is I thought I was committed to a paleo lifestyle, but I found that I still felt like I missed out sometimes on being able to enjoy a cupcake or a cookie or pizza or whatever it was. And that would trigger me to feel like a guilty person who just literally needs to be put in prison. And I would literally binge on those foods because I was like, I'm not going to have these again for a long, long time. So I'm going to get it all out of my system now. And that was not a healthy way for me to live. But now I have flexibility. I know what it looks like to have what I want when I want it, but also still give my body what it needs. And that's why it's so important for you to recognize that your goal right now is not to identify as somebody trying to lose weight. Fat loss is the journey. It's the path to getting you to living lean. I want to be leaner. I want to be fitter. I want to be healthier. I want to feel good when I look in the mirror, when I put on a bathing suit, when I'm talking to my friends. I want to have energy in the gym. Like that is lifestyle change. And when you look at your changes like that, the speed of the results don't fuck with your head because you're now feeling so good in the process that you don't feel restricted. You're not waiting for the plan to be over. You're looking excited. You're excited for every single day. Now, don't get me wrong. It's hard work. Like there's days where you're like, man, I don't want to go to the gym. Man, I'm tired today. Man, I really could just order pizza. I'm freaking, but you know that you feel so good when you stick to the plan. So you have to learn to change and mold yourself into becoming somebody else. Okay. So I'm going to pop over to the questions here to make sure that anybody has any questions. I'm going to scroll back. Okay. Queen Koopa, is consistency day to day with calorie goals important, or if average over week meets goal, is that okay? It actually, I would say consistency day to day is important, but what you have to understand is it's just like any other numbers. Okay. So the most important thing to be consistent with day to day is tracking your calories. If you're not consistent with how you're tracking your calories and you're not staying consistent with actually measuring things and weighing things out and you're guessing, I don't care what you say, you're not going to be controlling your calories enough. But let's just say your daily calorie needs for fat loss are 1,800 calories. And you're eating 1,800 calories Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, you get 2,100 calories in because you decide to have 2 glasses of wine with your dinner. And then Saturday, you're at 2,100 calories, okay? That's going to throw your calories up out of a deficit a little bit if you don't compensate from them by dropping calories somewhere. Now, if you drop your calories enough to incorporate a couple of higher calorie days, so if you know that you want to have an extra, call it 600 calories on Saturday and Sunday, or Friday and Saturday, then that would mean that you would have to subtract 600 calories from the other days of your week, which might look like instead of 1,800 calories, you're dieting on about 1,700 to 1,650 calories, if that makes sense. But that's where the consistency does really matter. In fact, I thought about putting a post out about the 100-calorie rule. Every day you should really be within 100 calories of your goal. And if you do have a couple of those days a week, just know that you're going to have to pull those calories from somewhere. Does that help you a little bit, Queen Koopa? I love that name. Let me pop out over to YouTube. Good morning. Do you guys have any other questions here? Fat loss, consistency, going over anything that I already covered or anything that I did not cover? I think I'm getting sick. That's what happens when you go out of town. I think I covered everything. So, all right. So the last thing I'm just going to mention, as I said, if you guys are interested, you're not really quite sure where to start. Always going to put a plug out there for nutrition coaching. I do have a couple of programs. The Fat Loss Fast Track has officially already started, so that is no longer open for entry. I had a couple of people trying to get signed up last minute, but we already started, and I don't want to add anybody else to it. It would just not do you good. But I do have a couple of different options available. If you just want to kind of get an idea for where you're at and kind of get a feel for what your journey might look like, we can always get on a call, have a conversation, see what works best for you, or via text message. I know I'm more of a text messenger. Actually, if you know me, you know I send voice memos. Voice memo is my favorite thing. It's voicemail in real time. That's why I love it. But if you guys have anything else you want to talk about or whatnot, just let me know. And from there, I guess I'm going to go ahead and sign off. See y'all later.